Hello everyone out there. My name is Devin Adams. I am a certified Fortinet trainer for Dynamic Worldwide in Tempe, Arizona. And I normally do these videos for my students, for my participants. This one is actually just for me. So what I mean here is that I have to renew my NSC 4 and because it's been a couple years, and I take the exam tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm even going to publish these videos, but I'm just going to brush up on my concepts. And I thought, you know what, it'd be fun to lab these up, maybe record them, and if there is any value, maybe I'll upload them. Maybe I won't. Maybe no one will ever see these. But anyways, this is just a really, really impromptu lab for my NSC 4. And like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. So there's going to be no goals for this one here. I'm just going to roll with it. But I still have a Windows PC for my last course, for my last lab, and I also have this domain controller, and I didn't want to create those again. I also have this Linux box that's going to be acting like my router. So anything that's 10.200 is going to be our make-believe IP addresses, public IP addresses, and then this is the real internet, and this is using a DHCP from the NAT cloud in GNS3 just to get an IP address, and I did configure routing on this guy right here so it would route and NAT out to the real world. So anyways, for this first video, and like I said, I'm just going to roll with these. I am going to get internet access to my two machines here, okay? And I guess, just for the fun of it, I will do a redundant WAN link. So I'll do two WAN links. So first thing that we need is our FortiGate. And when we drop our FortiGates, it is going to be dropped using the default settings. So here we go. Where are you, Mr. FortiGate? And because my NSC 4 exam is running 6.0, that's the one I'm going to do it in. All right, so there we go. All right. And let me rename that. I'll just rename this to HQ FortiGate. All right, nice. And obviously we need a broadcast domain down here or some kind of layer 2. So let's get a switch. And I know that eventually there'll be a lot going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and invest in the resources on my machine and actually drop myself one of these open switch switches, which can handle the traffic a little bit better here. So there we go. And I already have a subnet on this one of 10.10. No, I don't. 10.10.1.0/24. So that would be my core router subnet. All right. So, and then I'm gonna have believe it or not, because I know for a fact I'm gonna do SD-WAN stuff later. So I'm actually gonna start on port 6 for my LAN. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, good times. So, and there we go. And then I'll just plug in this guy here. Plug in this guy here. Good times. All right. Nice. And then I'm going to have two WAN connections. So, all right. We'll say port 1 to... Now, I know this seems like a lot of interfaces, and it is. But I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm going to be doing a lot with the SD-WAN. I need to practice writing those rules. So, but I'm going to say port 1 and then port 2, and that's going to act like our two WAN connections. Okay? Yeah, all right, there we go. Not too bad itself. So let's go ahead and fire up both this switch here and also the FortiGate, and we'll let that post. So it'll just take a moment. So while that's booting up here, let's go ahead and talk what else I'm going to do. I know for a fact that we need to set access on this FortiGate, and we don't necessarily need to do anything other than to get enough access via the GUI. Because, you know, CLI stuff can be a little bit convoluted at times. But by default, port 1 has all of the access protocols for management turned on. Now, in the real world, when you unbox one of these things, it's actually a default IP address of 192.168.1.99. Some of them have DHCP turned on, but most of them will just have you configure it that way. Now the virtual machines, on the other hand, are set up to get an IP address dynamically. All right, so yeah. Anyways, I'm probably not going to touch the WAN ports. All I'm going to do is that on that port 6, was it port 6 or port 5? I can't even remember now. Yep, port 6. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do admin access so I can configure it through the GUI. So, all right, here we go. So admin, no password is the default. Then I'm going to do a config system interface and do a show here. All right, and as you can see, we have all the management access on port 1 and nothing else on the other interfaces. So we're going to do an edit port 6. All right. And if you do a show here, it'll show you just some default settings. If you do a get, it will show you everything, by the way, that you want to see on an interface. And each one of those can be configured to some parts. But here we're just going to do a set IP address of 10, 10, 1, and the default gateway for this interface for our switch area here is going to be the /24. All right, so and then set allow access. We'll say ping, HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and telnet. Now the reason why I'm including the insecure protocols there is because on these trial versions of the FortiGates, their cryptos are very low, and a lot of web browsers won't let you connect securely using low encryption. If we ever license these things though, we can go ahead and turn off those insecure protocols. So, but in real life, we wouldn't have those on. And guess what? I think that is it. We'll hit an end to commit, and then we'll do an execute ping 10, 10, 1, and I believe that local PC is 50. Cute. Maybe there's a firewall turned on. I'm not too sure. All right, all right, all right. Let's try, I actually can't remember what it was. Let's try a 10. Okay, there we go. The domain controller is pinging the interface, so we know we have access at least there. So let's go ahead and take a look and log into our local PC here. All right, and this should have an IP address of 50. I'm just assuming that it's a non-identified network, so the firewall on the host machine's kicked in. But we can test it real quick. So let's load up Firefox here and try to access the GUI. All right, so we'll go up to the address bar. We'll type in. Get out of here. We'll type in 10.10.1.254, and there you go. We have GUI access. So let's go ahead and go forward now, and we'll do admin, no password. That is the default out of the box. Now, normally we would change this password, all right, to something very long, very secure, and then go secure it somewhere offline, all right? At least that's my humbled opinion for best practice. All right, here we go. I sure hope my caps weren't on. All right, hit OK. And I guess I'll find out here in a second. Now, if you ever do lose your password, there is a reset. It's called the maintainer account. You can look it up. So here we go. Password. Nope. Ah, I did fat finger it. Okay. So let's go ahead and at least get a connectivity. All right. So the FortiGates needs to talk out to the FortiGuard using the internet, so that's important there. So let's work on our interfaces first and foremost. So we'll go here, we'll go to interfaces, and you'll see that port 1 and port 2 do not have anything on it. All right, this is going to act as our internet access, publicly facing. All right, so we'll say, hey, you're a WAN. And I'm not going to touch any of the bandwidths for right now, but I'm just going to say WAN 1. Okay. And manually, and I just know this because I configured the router on the other side, right? That is the make-believe public IP address that we got from our internet service provider. And I'm actually going to turn these things off because normally we would not have admin access like that to the outside world. So I'll go ahead and I'll say OK. There we are. And then for port 2, we'll call this WAN 2. There we are. All right, so it is WAN. Now you don't need to have the rules. They're just there to help with the label and also to hide some settings that you might screw up with. They're nothing more than that. The aliases, on the other hand, that is for us as admins. It's really hard to read routing tables. It's really hard to read firewall policies with port 1, port 2, port 3. Give it a name that makes sense. All right. So, and then that IP address should be 224. Nice. And we'll leave that just the way it is. Okay. And then that gives us a couple more interfaces to play with the SD-WAN if we want to. All right. And then I'm going to go into port 6 now. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that we call this our LAN. And the role will be LAN. And we are doing it manually. And I will keep these management interfaces up. All right. But I am going to turn on the DHCP server, because if we ever do add any devices, I don't want to manually set them. So we'll set the range to 100 to 150. My poor little laptop doing all the virtualization can't handle anything more than that. Device detection is awesome for discovery. So active scanning will reach out and try to discover what it is a little more aggressively. It shouldn't hurt anything in my humble opinion. But you know, that's a good way just to kind of build a little more detail about the topology maps and the devices that are trying to connect. So, and that looks good. So we'll hit OK. And we have our interfaces set up. What? So, you know what though? I was talking to my imaginary team. Hi, imaginary team. And we decided to, you know what? We're using both of those connections. They are pretty much the same, just from two different providers. Well, let's zone them together. And I'm like, a zone? Yeah. So what is a zone? A zone is a way for us to group interfaces together that is going to have like security goals associated with it. So for example, some people might zone this together and call it something like untrust, because it's facing the internet, and this could be our trust. But it's just a way to simplify management on the FortiGates, all right, by grouping them together. It's just once you group them together though, they will lose their ability to reference them individually in a firewall policy. But what's nice about this is that the redundant connections here do not need to have redundant firewall policies. In other words, we can just zone them together and have one policy for both interfaces. So we'll do that. So I'm going to zone them together by creating a new zone. And this one I'm going to call just WAN, okay? And then drop my members in there. So WAN 1, WAN 2, what? Okay, so that way I don't have to write a whole bunch of firewall policies and make sure that they fall through and blah, 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 blah. So there we go. All right, good times there. All right, so we still do not have internet access. Okay, but we can still connect to the next hop and test connectivity from there. So I'm just going to pop this open really quick, and this is how you get to the CLI. And I'm going to do a real quick execute ping to one of the gateways just to make sure it can get to the router, and it can. And what router am I talking about here? I'm talking about testing the connectivity from here to here. All right, and if that worked, then I know this is up and running. That's all I'm going to worry about at this point. So good times there. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is to give it internet connectivity, which is required for things like the FortiGuard licensing and the updates and, well, the internet, right? Unless this is a closed system. So we need a static. Yeah, route. So let's go ahead and do this. Now, normally if we got a DHCP, because we had a dynamic IP address instead of a static one, it will write it in the routing table for us, okay? But if we have static routes, we got to do it ourselves. So we'll say, hey, when we don't know where to go, here's the famous quad 0, I want you to leave and pass off that traffic to 1.254 out interface 1. Boom. Now here's the administrative distance, and also if you expand here is the priority. Okay, if we want our traffic to load balance, we could do equal cost multipathing if we leave these two the same on both of the routes, or if we change the priority, it will prefer one over the other. All right, so but they both have to be the same in order for it to instantly load balance traffic. So guess what? That's what I'm going to do. Bam. So there's one. And remember, zones are specifically for firewall policies in the sense of it aggregating. In other words, I'm still able to reference the individual interfaces outside of the zone here. So, and then WAN 2 was 2.254. All right. There we go. And the distance and the priority will be the same. And we now have a static route. So in theory, we should be able to ping out through the internet now through our CLI. All right, because we don't need a firewall rule to test connectivity from the FortiGate to the internet. It's just through the FortiGate we need a firewall rule. So here we go. So let's do an execute ping 8.8.8. And as you guys can see, ta-da! Internet connectivity, what? Okay, cool. So, good times there. Okay, so they are now zoned together. And then let's go ahead and go to our policy and objects. Let's go to our IP4 policy and let's let this thing actually get out to the interwebs. So let's create a new one. Now nothing gets by without a firewall policy, so you have to give it a name if you're doing it through the GUI. So here we go. We'll just say internet access. All right. And then our incoming, our ingress is going to be our LAN. See how much easier it is when you name them? All right, our outgoing is going to be our zone. And this is what I meant by you lose the autonomy of the individual interfaces. All right, but that's the beauty of a zone. Okay, our source is going to be our subnet. Wow, look at that. It kicked me out. What? That was kind of weird. Maybe I was talking too much. I don't know. So. All right, anyways, that was actually really funky. I have no idea what was going on there. So let's try that again. Glitch in the matrix. So, all right, internet access. Our ingress or incoming is going to be our LAN going to our WAN, and it's a stateful firewall, so we only have to do one direct. And then for our source, one of the nice things about the newer versions of FortiOS, we can create our address objects for the subnets right here. Yeah, so let's go ahead and create that because we're going to use it several times throughout our configuration. And we'll just say, we'll actually say, you know what, we'll just say LAN subnets. Now it is case sensitive when you're doing it through the CLI, something to keep aware of. And you can use spaces. It just makes configuring through the CLI a little more of a pain in the butt. Okay. Yeah, anyways. So, but you know what? I don't like shouting or anything like that. So, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. I usually do camel casing, but whatever. Now, I am going to take advantage of these colors so that way they jump out on me when I'm looking at my address list. So I'm going to just come up with my own naming convention that green means it's within our trust. All right. The subnet's going to be our local LAN subnet. All right. And because I don't know how often I'm going to be referring it to, I'm going to leave it with any, meaning that it'll be indexed to any interface, so it won't try to like hide itself if we're configuring it on a specific interface. I hope that makes sense. And also right here, do you want it to show up in the static route configuration? Well, I know for a fact I'm going to probably do, that I'm going to be doing some VPN routing. So you know what? I am going to make that a routable object that we can use later on. All right. And I'm also a big fan of the comments field in real life, because the more metadata that we can put in, and maybe someone else inherits our FortiGate infrastructure, they don't need to guess what objects are. I'm not going to do that for right now, but I'm a huge fan of comments. All right. So there we go. Boing, 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 boing. Stick it in. Destination for right now, the internet's a big place. We'll just say all for services. We'll probably scale this down, but we'll just say all services, right? And we'll do an accept, okay? NAT, because we are going out to the outside world, that sounds good. It's just going to use the outgoing interface, so either 10.200.1 or 10.200.2, okay? And we don't have any licenses yet for security. Let's go ahead and do logging, security events, sure, enable the policy, good to go. So theoretically speaking, that should be all we need for internet connectivity. All right, sure, maybe. Let's test it out. So, why is it easier to be skinny in the 80s? Yeah, look at that. What? What? I guess it is skinnier to be 80s. All right, whatever. So it's working. All right, good times. Our FortiGate is up. It's running from out of the box. Okay, but now remember it's doing equal path multi-cost load balancing, and by default, every source IP address is going to go out the same way. All right. But let's go ahead and test this right now, just very superficially. All right, and I'm going to do this by going to the FortiView. I'm going to go to my live sessions table, and then I'm going to include the interface of the outgoing ports. So that way we can see how it's being distributed. Now, guys, this is what's so flippin' cool, okay, about source device detection. Not only did it see that it's a Windows machine, it actually found the name of my host machine. What? Come on, guys, that's cool. I don't need the destination device for right now, so let's go ahead and take that off. But I do want to see the device interface, and let's move that up a little bit like that, and there should be an apply at the bottom. Okay. And as you can see, it's using that port 1. Now, even though we have two interfaces and it is doing load balancing, the default algorithm is the same source gets the same outgoing interface. Okay, but let's see what happens now when a backhoe or something killed one of our connections outside, or somebody got too happy and pulled the plug. All right, let's see how much of an interruption that is. Let's go back here. And let's go ahead and go to finances. I'm just clicking. All right. Oh, maybe it did go down. I don't know. No, it didn't. Yeah, it's just slow. Did you see any drop in connection? No, you didn't? Yeah, I didn't either. Why? Because of that zone and because of that redundant link. Now, it's still probably just holding on to this because it's established, but if we keep on going, unless I unplugged port 2 without even knowing it, because port 2 should be down. Did I unplug the wrong bloody interface? All right, let's take a look. So how do we know if our interface is down or not? Let's go to our network. Let's go to our interfaces. And you know what? I don't know if this in GNS3 will actually show a downed state, to be honest with you. I think even if it's not plugged in, it still shows us up. Yeah, so you know what? I'm just going to hover over here and see what I unplugged. And of course I unplugged the wrong connection. I deleted port 2 that wasn't even being used because I'm awesome like that. Let's try that again. So let me hover over it this time to see which link it is. Alright, so that's port 2, that's port 1. Oh, that's funky. Alright, now we killed the connection. I'm like, that was a really good trick. Alright, let's go back to Google. Alright. So I'm pretty sure it'll try the first interface, and then after that, it will go ahead and say, hey, you know what, that's clearly not doing anything. You know what? If it's in a down state, I bet you anything that that's not going to work because of how GNS3 works. I bet you because it's not a down state, it's not going to pull it out of the interface. We're going to have to physically bring it down. Sorry about that, guys. I just realized it's a limitation of my lab environment, not with the FortiGate. So, but as you guys can see, because that interface is in a down state, I mean, there's absolutely no need to fail over because we have it in a zone and we have that equal cost multipathing happening, right? It just automatically takes the next link. We didn't have to write two firewall policies, so on and so forth. So there you guys go. The blood of the crab. All right, whatever that is. Let's bring our link back up. Oh, that sucked. Alright, sorry about that, guys. That's why I need to be a real YouTuber one of these days. And yeah, let's go ahead and do something here. Let's bring that interface back up. Now, you know what? Why don't we, before I end this video, because this is going way too long, all right? Before we take off, because we only have really one machine generating traffic, I mean, technically we have two with the DC, but I'm not touching the DC in this video. How do we change the load balancing algorithm? Well, we actually have to do that in the CLI. So it's a CLI only command. And to get there, you actually have to do a config system settings, all right? And then you do a set, and I'm just hitting kind of tab complete here, v4, meaning IP version 4, equal cost multipath mode, and then if you hit a question mark right here, I wonder if it would allow us, yep, there we go, the different options. So by default, the same source IP address will go out the same destination, or we can do a weighted interface and essentially distribute it based off of a ratio. So we can give an interface of like a number 1, another interface of number 2, and it'll give a 1 session, 2 sessions kind of ratio. Usage based, all right, is going to be threshold. So if you guys can think of like bandwidth utilization, and then this one right here is sourced with a new destination IP address will be distributed. So I'm going to pick this one right here just so we can see kind of load balancing in action. So let me type in source destination. We'll do into commit. What did I do wrong here? Oh, sorry about that, guys. I don't know why I did that. There we go. And now it should be doing it every time that the source IP address goes out to a different destination. So just because I want to kind of capture this in action, I'm going to go to one of my favorite sites to use in the lab, which is makeinternetnoise.com. All right. And this is a website that I found that just randomly goes to places. Right. There we go. And yeah, let's go ahead and check out that session table now, and hopefully we'll see it distributing the different loads across different interfaces. So FortiView, and go to all sessions, all right? And as you guys can see, we have port 1. Do we have any port 2s? Give me a port 2. There we go. Port 2, port 2, port 2. So yeah. Port 2, port 2, port 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. So there you go. It's load balancing against the different WAN links there. So, and that happens automatically with the FortiGates, all right, as long as there's an equal priority, and also if there's an equal administrative distance on your 2 static routes for your default gateways, okay? So not a big deal there. So yeah, this has been going on for a half an hour, so I'm going to stop it, and I have no idea what I'm going to do in my next video, all right, or if these are getting published, but I'll go ahead and stop it there, and yeah, I'll see you guys in just a minute, okay?